H here. Oh, it has been a while. I thought you died, but you merely got a lily liver and ran off to Mommy. Well, I'm glad you burned down that pansy past of yours and ignited from the ashes to become a phoenix of resolution amongst the ranks of the other world researchers. We can go to the next step now. No more short pants and milkshakes for you. Here is the next meat and potatoes served to all the big boys. Dig in and sup well. This is nutrition for your mind. His name, Menachem Acker, age 61. Menachem was an inward man with a deep and devious soul. He was to unearth the worst motivations and consequences for desiring wealth above his desire for God's good graces. Location, Dobruskani, Czechoslovakia. Date, 1538. No one has ever heard of Dobruskani. It was a small town in the Sudetenland, nestled in a valley below the broad, rich mountains of that famed area. At the time, it had about 500 people. Most were miners, glass workers, a brewer, a baker, a couple blacksmiths, and some excellent geologists, feeding the economy and making that tiny town grow year by year into what was sure to be a metropolis of trade and artisanship within the century. The prosperity of Dobruskani was assured. Not so assured was the place and position of one Menachem Acker. In his old age, he was looking back in anger at a life that was poked, prodded, and pursued about Central Europe as he avoided a series of pogroms and persecutions brought on by a fervor to convert the Jews to accept their purport Messiah. Menachem fled with his meager family and found some respite in the Sudentes, where he became part of a small community of Jews that were accepted by the locals and welcomed as members of a progressively growing community who wanted distance from the inflamed and insane politics of a broiling European banking cartel. Menachem would continually cuss the distant fuggers and their thuggish ways, fuming all the more about how Georg had been recognized by the Holy Roman Church and elevated beyond compare. The aged Jew slowly let grip on his glory to God and allowed greed to nest within his heart. And from greed to desperation allowed in all the most immoral choices available, and Menachem willfully gave himself up to evil and the arcane to provide him with a simple and sensational solution to all his failings in life. Through a series of clever stratagems, he would acquire a wealth unheard of in a single swoop of ungodly intervention, and with that he would momentarily become the richest single man or even business entity in the Central European region. On a fateful day, a fateful spring day, Menachem beckoned to a sympathetic neighbor's lad. His name was Albert Schwanzreich, an athletic, unassuming teen, who would become the catalyst for Menachem's ultimate plans. Albert had the body and the ability to do what Menachem could no longer achieve. The elder Jew first buttered up the boy with flattery, then bloated the healthy young man with the finest meats and cheeses, to finally blast the boy's brains with copious wine from the finest of Menachem's cupboards. Albert felt truly gratified and was overwhelmingly sold on whatever Mr. Acker was about to hawk. And it was an odd sale indeed. "Take this copper trinket," Menachem told the Schwantreich child, "and go high into the mountains above. I'll provide you a map I made years ago. There is a specific cave set into the range, difficult to find, but unmistakably unique. Merely go inside the cave and deposit this item in the cave floor, burying it a mere few inches deep." Albert was unsettled by the weirdly nonsensical request. Menachem would reveal no more about the ultimate purpose, but urged and cajoled until the boy accepted his task. Menachem gave up his crude map leading to the cave. It would be a mere day's journey to get up and back, all within sunlight and without any special equipment. Easy. Albert set it in his heart and mind to fulfill the old man's desires and come back triumphant. And so it was done as expected. In the thawing snows of late spring, the able-bodied lad easily hiked higher and higher, and with the finely mapped path in his hands, he readily found the said cave. It was set high indeed, with a mouth wide and low, filled with various stalagmites and stalactites caused by southerly exposure and warm airs coming in, replaced by cold ones at night. It was creepy. The inside glinted from a thin glaze of semi-frozen water lingering on every surface about. When wind picked up, Albert found the cave breathing, its crags allowing for a soft moaning. It was slightly unsettling. He lit his torch to allow him to be aware of anything lurking in the back, in the deeper recesses of this cave. To him it appeared to go on, to go back forever, and perhaps it did. He didn't wish to spelunk, merely to achieve his task and retreat down the mountain to safety. Using a small pick he brought with him, Albert dug a tiny hole behind the stalagmites and proceeded to bury the small, coiled copper trinket in the earth of the cave. The moment it was encased in the dirt, the sound of 1 billion hellhounds were seemingly unleashed from around the unsuspecting teen. The sounds of gnashing and groaning and grinding of boulders slamming into Albert's ears. The entire mountain shook, slowly at first, building intensity quickly. It seemed as if all the world was becoming fluid and shifting in an unparalleled seismic event. Down the mountain, in Doberskani, Menachem Acker heard the sound and his heart leapt for joy. His devious machinations were reaching fruition at last. Menachem, you see, had devised this plan for years. How he came across the information or ability to carry it out is unknown. But Menachem uncovered the occulted knowledge of golemery, the ability to place a human soul in stasis within a mystic scroll. Menachem had been able to capture the soul of his dying cousin years earlier. The cousin's soul was now translated into a new earthen body, the Sudeten Mount above the small town of Doberskani. Within the cave on the mountain, Albert was slowly masticated by the gnashing of stalactites and stalagmites, exercising freedom of movement after endless time frozen within solidified form. Albert was pulped finally within minutes. From afar, terrified onlookers saw the mountaintop split and emerge upwards with arms hundreds of feet long, pushing a body of pure rock and ore into the air, and then settling downward, down the slope of the mountain toward the mining village containing Menachem Acker. Acker ran into the street before his house in the center of Doberskani. He waved upward to his newly minted monster servant as it slowly came to rest over top of him, arms spread across the town to prop up its gigantic cranium over the exultant Menachem. One by one, the arms mindlessly slammed hands into terra firma, crushing stray humans running in flight. Now was the climax to the impious Jew's intention. He not only wanted a golem, but a particular slave that could deliver forth the goods of economic epiphany. "Now, my servant," Menachem cried upward to the attentive monster, "vomit forth your silver." Deep within the bowels of the moving mountain came heaving, like a cat delivering fur balls aggregated from the remains of mice, and forth came a stream of tainted silver ore. The pile of precious metal and slag crushed the man's 3-story fachwerk house. Tons of silver to merely be smelted free, without any need to mine. The slough instantly killed Menachem's wife and visiting daughter and son-in-law, who remained inside, fearing for their safety. Menachem cared not. "Now," a jubilant Menachem bellowed upward, "bring forth your gold." Again the heaving of the obedient golem, and a stream of gold ore gushed forth and down onto the silver, burying the remains of Menachem's home completely. From this treasure trove would be delivered incalculable wealth. A wealth beyond the holdings of any bank or royalty, or even church in the world. But yet there was more. Another deeper heaving transpired, and another even bigger vein of gold was delivered up. And then another. Within Menachem's mind, a euphoric vision of opulence and indulgence washed over him. That day in spring of 1534, his autumn years were imagined to be ensconced in a world of power and fancy. However, the final outpouring had an unforeseen effect. It brought with it the Golem scroll, uncovered and expelled from the towering mountain, and in a moment of frailty, the entire Golem reverted to a mere pile of rock, crashing down and burying all of Dobruskani, the silver and gold ore, and the despicable Menachem, covering all witnesses and secrets forevermore. To people of our era, uncovering the nonsensical data written by clerics that recorded the accounts of people returning to a vanished town and a moved mountain, it was merely dismissed as the inane ramblings of a confused and unscientific people befuddled by their own savagery. To our enlightened age, it is nothing more than a stupid misunderstanding noted by idiots and loathsome progenitors caught between superstition and spiritual ignorance. You see, people of today, much like Menachem of the past, discount their fathers and the great fathers to fancy their own vision of reality as law. And within their own self-righteous and haughty paths, they shall be buried like the wayward Menachem, buried under the crumbling carcass of their own construct. But we know better. We know better.
Like and subscribe before I die, and ring the little bell or you will surely go to hell.
Oh, we're telling spooky stories. This is not a spooky story. Oh, there's no way
Well,
in the house I can
it
say.
depends how you look at it. It is kind of spooky.
I guess so.
Wait, that's it? That's the end of the story?
That is a